I'm Chris Haight. I'm the president of Prevare LLC. We're a computer consultancy and value-added reseller. Over the last couple of years, we've tried to make an effort to build recurring revenue, particularly through internet access and telephone lines. We found two challenges. Our customers were buying the service anyway. We were then being paid to go in and solve the problem. It wasn't installed right, or the routers weren't working, but there was always a challenge with the client in terms of they would want the vendor to pay because it was a vendor error. So we were looking to solve that problem, to basically get recurring revenue from that and have a way to be paid a commission from those vendors so we wouldn't have to bill the client for a bill that was always a fight. Over the last couple of years, we made an attempt to build that. We tried to build direct relationships. We found that our size, vendors wanted a significant commitment. They always wanted to know where the next deal was coming from. And as consultants, we've always tried very hard to not force a particular piece of hardware to client just because that's the vendor we were trying to make happy. And we wanted to do the same thing with phone and internet and cloud services. We wanted to use the product that was right at the time. That made it a real struggle to try to work with individual vendors specifically to give them the volume they need to get the kind of attention, as well as building up the technical expertise and the rest of the staff to handle it. About 6 months or so ago, I went to an exchange event where Intelisys was presenting. I met them in, I believe, one of those boardrooms, or, where 12 people sit around. And I heard what they had to say. They presented Andrew Preifogel, who they had recently purchased, I believe, with a big cloud portfolio. So that was real appealing, both that they had the traditional internet and phone lines, but also the cloud services. After a few conversations with Andrew and the other people at Intelisys, it became clear that they offered both the access to the vendors and the technical expertise to help us select the right vendors at the right time and actually build up that recurring revenue practice. Having just signed up with Intelisys a few months ago, we took the very safe route and initially actually did a couple of services that we were sourcing with new vendors just to get a feel for it. That went very well. We saved a lot of money on the services, plus you're getting a commission on them. And then I started to go out to my client base. And I spoke to a client with about 500 employees who had a very aging phone system. They're actually facing a $250,000 support contract that they would have to sign in the next 6 months, as well as not having enough bandwidth at their 11 locations. We actually just on September 30th signed a deal for just under $1 million over 3 years using Intelisys. And really, we went to Intelisys and we worked with their engineers, and he was wonderful in terms of reviewing 3, 4, 5 different network carriers, rather, as well as all of the possible hosted voice providers out there. I was particularly concerned with hosted voice. I knew it could be a good solution for this particular client, given what they were spending, given the number of locations they had. But a lot of people don't do hosted voice well. And I know enough to know that they don't do it well. I don't have the resources to figure out who really does it well. But they had those resources. They brought us a great vendor, and we took the business away from an existing carrier. And it is going to be something like $3,800 a month in recurring revenue. It's a 3-year contract, but typically this will probably renew for 5, 10 years into the future. So, summarizing the top benefits I find working with Intelisys, the top benefit has to be their technical expertise, their ability to have vetted what these vendors can and cannot do, so that Intelisys can tell you that this vendor can indeed deliver this level of service in this location. They can't do this, they can do that. It's a vetting process that nobody of a reasonable size could really do on their own. Beyond that, it's also their breadth of connection in the industry and the number of vendors they represent, so that they really do have a vendor to solve every problem. And beyond that, it is the availability of their people. Justin Morano from my area, as well as all the people in Intelisys, have been available, they've been responsive, and they're just very good at what they do. I would wholeheartedly recommend Intelisys to any other value-added reseller or consultant who is looking to bring in that piece of business.